I try and just make sure that they know that they can only control what they can control. Opposition, wind, things like that are not in your control. So just make sure you're ready. We've had a couple of inexperienced crews this year get quick started on, and it's just being aware that even if your hand is up, and there are no hands up, it's a really nice day. The umpire is not obliged to wait for you. So get in position, get ready, and then get off the start.
And get off the start they certainly have. Look at this. We've got ASR Nearest Triton have a really strong start, really keeping the rate up. And then you've got Molesey A will just come back into shot. And look at this. We've got the drone shot over the top. And as we see Molesey come in, almost a canvas there. That's as they come into the booms. What sort of race are we going to be in for here in this one?
Well, I think quads are fast, so it is going to be a fast race for sure. I think it's just going to come down to the fact that these starts are pretty even. Who hits the better rhythm coming off that start? So you cannot stay up at that very, very high rate throughout the whole 5.25 minutes or so that these guys have been taking to get down the course. So it's going to be who blinks first, who's going to stride down, who gets into their race rhythm first. And sometimes, if you're not that experienced, and this is aspirational, you can be taken out of what you wanted to do by the fact that you are racing against someone else. So it's just important to stick to what you had planned to do in the first place, because ideally you've planned that that's the quickest way from the start line to the finish for you already. So there is definitely a little bit of racing against someone else, but I'd say second half of the race you need to adjust. First half of the race, get down to business.
Of course, and looks like both crews have settled into that rhythm. There's the Molesey crew. Yeah, just about, I'd say about a half a length behind there as we go through Temple Meadows. Very evenly matched, these two crews, by the looks of it. I mean, when you look at the semi-final results there, the nearest composite, they beat the German Bremer Ruderverein by 1 3/4 lengths, and it was also the same length for Molesey against the Bath Uni and Minerva composite as well. So evenly matched here, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. This Dutch crew, the Dutch women's quads, their international ones are always very slick, always very fast. So they definitely know how to teach sculling over there, and that has led to the fact that as they passed us, had a half-length lead, looking very sharp, but both quads looking sharp. So I would say this Dutch crew looks like they're moving out just a few centimetres. Now this is that big race rhythm in the middle. This is where you just have to sustain that speed as best you can. And if you're the crew that's behind, just stay in contact and see if you can make that big move through in the last couple of minutes of the race.
Yeah. Must be quite interesting though, when you're in a coxless boat as well. You haven't got somebody else to tell you where that other person is. It's up to the bow or the steersman, whoever's in charge of that, to be able to tell them there. That must be that's quite a challenge then for that person in the crew.
Certainly is. Sometimes they give the calls to maybe the two person rather than the bow. But at the end of the day, this person's not going to be able to speak over and over. It's going to be short, sharp commands. They're not going to have the breath in their lungs to be giving you big feedback. So it is just going to be short, sharp words like legs, length, and maybe just saying we're in contact or let's go now, which is probably going to have to be called by this Molesey crew into this second half, to be honest.
I think he will. They are holding on at the moment against this Netherlands composite crew. We're looking very tidy as they come out of those finishes there, just keeping them at arm's length, but it could even be creeping up the Molesey crew here. This is very competent racing for both. It's keeping everyone on the banks absolutely enthralled, and keeping us here in the commentary box especially. It's just so fascinating, I think, to wonder.
Well, true.
This is really about race management.
Absolutely, and all that matters is who's ahead at the finish. That is the bottom line. No one's going to look at how you won, they might look at the times, but as long as your bow ball crosses that line first, then you can celebrate.
Absolutely. I think we just get some shot. If we go down to the riverside, we've got Molesey. Look at this. They'll pick the rate up by the looks of things, so they keep pulling away on it. There's a real tug going on there. This is almost like a tug of war, literally. We've seen before, it's side by side. But it's a very clean road from the Dutch crew. As we come into the final thirds, though, we could expect to see a couple of bursts to make this even closer. From this angle.
Molesey definitely have made some inroads into that lead. It's just whether the Dutch tried to match them early, whether they decided to let some of that lead back, or whether they have actually blown. So it will be interesting to see as they move up towards that finish line, It'd be great to have drone footage on it because it's not always the clearest when we've got this sort of sweeping camera angle. But both crews definitely having to work hard. Definitely having to work hard.
Indeed, you can see it. You can just imagine what they're going through at this point, just putting everything in. Everyone in the rowing community knows about the hours that you put in, the early starts, the weights, the hours on the water, the miles. It all comes down to this. This is what it's all about, and this is what these crews are fighting for right now. And as you see, it looks like we're just coming up to the finish lines of this race, and this is a real push from Molesey, and they've done it.
They have done it indeed. That is fantastic.
Oh.
Massive, massive move in that last third of the race to go from 2/3 to half a length down to, well, I was wondering when the Dutch crew was going to come into shot, to be honest. So that was amazing. Great moves from them. Well done to them.
What a well-executed race. And there's not even a time for us to catch our breath from that because the next race has started, which is the Junior Double Sculls for the Rayner Cup, sponsored by the Colgan Foundation. And again, this is the third Molesey final in a row against the City of Oxford. As they just come out of the trees from Temple, we can see it's the Molesey crew that are ahead there, and they've got a very long river. You can see the boat bouncing from that power.
Well, I think that is the thing when you are so strong, you can get that bounce, but any upwards and downwards movement is not helping your boat get to the finish line. But probably for short sections, if you are making sure those watts are going down into the river, it's all right. But then they will need to find that smoothness to make sure that they stay out in front of this City of Oxford crew.
Of course, and look, as they come past the bank now, it looks like they're certainly finding it. They're reaching out for that catch and sending it away at the finish against this against the City of Oxford crew. We're a little bit rushed there, but keeping within touching distance at this early stage.
Well, we've seen 3 Molesey crews in a row now, and the signature for each of them has been that length, making sure they're long in the water, and length always brings good rhythm. So that must be something they've been working on. And we've seen the different levels. So you had the Championship Coxless 4, the Aspirational Quad, and now the Junior Double. So both these athletes are going to be 18 or younger. But apparently it doesn't matter which squad you're in, you're still rowing long at Molesey.
Absolutely. It's fantastic to see. It's a wonderful style of rowing to watch. But focusing on this City of Oxford crew, I mean, this is a crew that's third in Junior Sculling Regatta this year, finalists in the Women's Junior Doubles at British Rowing Junior Championships in 2017. So this isn't a bad crew that they're racing, but they're just making it look easy at the moment.
Yeah, just watching them come past us, there was a really good work through the second part of that stroke from the Molesey crew, and it's really smooth as well. I'd say there's still a really strong work through from the City of Oxford crew, but it's just not quite as connected between the start of the drive phase and the second part of the drive phase. So it's quite possible Molesey are getting that.
It certainly seems to be with the City of Oxford. There's going to be a rise at the catch before it's landed in. What sort of difference? I mean, it seems like obviously for people who don't know much about rowing, it seems like a minor difference. But how much can that cost you if you went on the catch?
Well, if you're moving your body around a lot, particularly upwards and downwards. So I'm a physics teacher as well, and Newton's third law will tell you there's always an equal and opposite reaction. So if your body weight's coming up, that boat has to go down. It's as simple as that. So if you are raising your body up into the catch, you're really sinking down deeper. There is going to be a bit more friction with the water. And then also if you push that boat down, at some point it's going to want to bounce back up, and that kind of up and down movement doesn't help the laminar flow past the boat, and you just lose some efficiency from it. So I always try and preach really flat hands, flat blades, flat drive. It's a really important concept because anything that's not flat is not helping you go to where you want to get to.
Absolutely, yeah. Learn something every day. Are any physics GCSE students got a free lesson?
Well, they all finished 2 Fridays ago now, so I've got a pretty nice looking timetable at the moment.
Oh, that's all right then. Well done to the students. Anyway, let's bring it back onto the river as we see that wonderful drone footage floating over the top. As that lead as this lead starts to stretch out, I think let's turn this over to a couple of results while we're here. Just a second. There we are. If you're just joining us on in the front of your screen here, we have the aspirational single sculls for the Bernard Churcher Trophy of Cardiff University. You've got Hayes and Norwich. We have Samantha Redgrave, and this is going to be a really exciting race. I think this one.
Yeah, it's not. To be honest, I haven't seen any of this in advance. The times suggest that Cardiff have got this, but you still have to race, and at the moment it's about a length, so it is a tight race. They've come off the top of the island, and they're now just passing that quarter-mile mark, and it is very, very close. So it's a length, but a length is not a huge amount in a single. Like in an 8, if you get a length, you're feeling quite happy. In a single, you still have to go hard. You're not that many meters ahead.
Absolutely. So the top of the screen there, you saw the junior double sculls. Yeah, the aspirational singles. Just confirm those names. So that's Cardiff's Sienna Hayes and Norwich Rowing Club's Samantha Redgrave. Of course. So this is, as we said, the lengthening out there. Just coming past the commentary booth here. Lots of big support for these two scullers. See a real length there from the Cardiff sculler, reaching out for that catch, just trying to make the most of the water that's floating underneath the boat.
Yeah, big reach, and there's a really good surge in the second part of that stroke, which is where these feet have come from. That's where her leads really come from. So as long as she can sustain that, she'll be fine. I think it could be connected slightly better, but it's still a good job, and it's obviously been effective because that lead is definitely not getting any smaller. So just keep moving like that, and she'll be able to take heart for the fact that she'll have that one in the bag.
Just a quick correction there from Norwich Samantha Hayes. So we're coming into this race. These two had very different races coming into this final. So Sienna Hayes had a very tight finish of a third of a length against Beth Wilford Dutton of Oxford Brooks. Really pushed her to there. And the Norwich Samantha Redgrave, that was a different one. Had a 4-length win over Grace Bake, which is a fantastic name. But it must show how different types of races you have to change your mentality coming into the finals.
Oh, and there is a big error that's just happened on the front of your screen. So it's not the Cardiff rower, but there was certainly a mistake in this. Quite possibly could be the junior singles that has been moved to this point. It does look like, yes. Yeah, this is Agecroft versus Exeter. The Exeter rowers made a bit of a mistake coming past the island. It is now going to have to fight hard to try and get back onto terms. So a little bit more information about that one. Yeah,
this is Phoebe Muir you're looking at. That was Phoebe Muir. This is Georgina Dooley you're looking at Agecroft, with this quite incredible reach that she's got at the moment, which would really help her just send the boat away. But they're just coming into shot now is Phoebe Muir of Exeter, and this is for the junior single scull side for the Di Ellis Trophy. As we can see, as I say again, these two won the semi-finals quite easily. So yeah, just coming at the top at the start of the race here. Real shame that at the start, because this would be really competitive. This is early days, though.
It's definitely not something that you plan, but it's something that's happened, and that's now out of your control. So all you can do is what comes next, and Exeter are just going to have to work really hard to get past that. And I think one of the great things about rowing is even if you take a really bad stroke, there is nothing to stop you taking a great stroke on the next stroke and continuing to take great strokes. So she'll be working hard at this point to try and get back onto terms. The Agecroft sculler is rowing really long, still working really powerfully. The rate is down at the moment, just really working each stroke, trying to get maximum length off every drive.
I mean, we've seen her do this throughout this tournament. Is this? I mean, it seems very different to some of the other scullers. Is this the most efficient way to be doing this, or is this quite unique?
I think you'd be pretty brave to be rating that if you were dead side by side. But when you can see your opposition in front of you, you can just bring the rate down a bit. You get a little bit more breath per stroke. You can get a bit more oxygen in per stroke, and then if that opposition is coming back to you, you know that you have some space to sort of climb up into rate-wise to try and gain some more space. I'm sure that they'll have stroke coaches and speed coaches on board. So she'll be monitoring what the rate is at the moment and whether she's working at the right sort of intensity levels, and then we'll be able to know and sort of take confidence from the fact that there probably is space to go up into.
Absolutely. So yeah, just to clarify what you guys are looking at the moment, just cheery, just having a big fist pump in the air. That was Cardiff University Sienna Hayes. She beat Norwich's Samantha Redgraves in the aspirational single sculls, and that was to take the Bernard Church Trophy. That was the image in the top right, and the top left is the race we've just been talking about there, and that was the junior single sculls for the Di Ellis Trophy. And right now, this is who you can see. This is Agecroft's Georgina Dooley against Exeter's Phoebe Mear, who had a mistake at the start, which is probably the reason why we've got this big long distance. But it's just incredible to see these different varieties of runners we've just discussed. So just coming up to the regatta, just coming up to the end of the regatta enclosure, coming up to the final part of this race now. So my goodness. And if we just come back to the start again, my God, there's no stopping the action here, is there? This is the Championship double sculls for the W Peer Cup, and this is Leander that you can see on the near side, and this is Edinburgh Uni and University of London on the far side. And so you have lots of small boats going on at the moment, so this is going to be quite an exciting races to see and see how they unfold. Which one do we want to take on?
Championship double sculls. This is Leander and Oxford University, University of London composite. And it's Leander Club that trail at the moment by about a length. The Edinburgh UL double scull, we saw them earlier on today in the semi-final. Really good action, really lovely motion, and the boat moving extremely nicely for them as they pass our commentary position, and it's gliding along beautifully there.
It really is. This is wonderful to watch, this type of rowing. These are two very experienced scullers here. Well, under 23 world champions in a women's quad. I also got junior world championship medals as well in here. These are two very experienced scullers, and you can see with that long rhythm, they're keeping that race up. Of course, this Leander crew isn't going to give up easily, though.
Now, Leander, of course, as you said before, on their home stretch, they've had quite an intake of new female rowers to the club this year. They're often out on this reach, doing all sorts of things. Particularly on Saturday mornings, you see them doing various time trials, being tested all the time. They're down at the moment, and that's quite a bit for them to catch up as it goes through the halfway mark.
Absolutely, it really is. It's very interesting to see this Leander crew. Yeah, as we say, spending all the time on the course and everything there. I mean, of course, these guys, they are strong contenders. You're Anna Porteous, Katie Maitland. Both athletes, again, we mentioned it before, US educated. For one of them in Washington, that was Porteous, and Maitland in North Carolina. So they brought some of that American experience to try and challenge these two, but they are just proving far too good at the moment.
Yeah, they're pushing away down towards the finish, and we can go down to the start. Really looking forward to this one. Putney High School against Henley in the junior Coxed Fours. Again, these crews were in action earlier on. We saw Henley overcome Headington. And funnily enough, the distances these two crews won by in their semi-finals were very, very similar, as indeed were the times. There was only 1 second between them.
I think that, yeah, it's a very evenly matched cruise that we can see here. I mean, it's always very exciting to watch Coxfords racing. This is for the Groton School Challenge Cup, this Junior 4. And yeah, just out of the start as well, lengthened out into their rhythm. Looks like the Putney High team might just be edging that a little bit as they really slotting that cash into the water and making the most of the stroke.
Well, one of the 3 finals that Henley are featuring in this afternoon. I think they got one under their belt already.
I think they did. Yeah, I think that was a very convincing
they'll be hoping to win this. They've done extremely well in this boat over the last year. They've got a world junior in the boat, Mary Wright. But it's Putney who have looked extremely lively in this competition over the last few days. It's Putney that have the lead as they're coming up towards us, and they've probably got about half a length here.
I'd say so. I'm just having a looking out the window here. This is very evenly matched, I think. I mean, it's very close still. But yeah, we are early days of the race, so anything can happen. But it is really important that Putney, they have got this early lead and they've managed to maintain it. Interesting, of course, because both Coxes are front base, so they can't see what's going on behind them. So they'll be communicating in the boat to try and get that information back to them to make sure that they're putting their surge in, timing everything best they can, so that this Putney crew can pull away from the Henley crew.
Well, Putney High School have that length lead now, so if Henley are going to do something, they've got to wake their ideas up. They're now over a third of the way down the course, and it doesn't look to me as if Henley are having a push. They're just slugging away. Putney High School, there is always the fear that they could have sort of front-loaded the race, gone a bit quick. They know exactly what each other can do, and they've looked at the times that they did in the previous semi-final, and they were certainly extremely similar.
They would have been very fired up for this one. I mean, you look at this Henley crew. There's a lot of achievements this year in them. Like before, they had women's head national schools. They've won lots of different races this year. They're really going up against one of the best crews here, this junior Cops 4. But Putney are really showing themselves. They're keeping, which I think is really important, they're keeping that length and they're keeping the power going down as well. So they are holding the Henley crew off. But this is only about halfway coming into the regatta enclosure now, so anything can happen in the second half.
Well, they'll hit that wall of noise that we talked about, and that can very often inspire them to go on. So they're halfway down the course. This is the final. It's Putney High School. We just lost the image there. There we are. There's one of the bits of Henley furniture blocking our view there, but on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see Henley, and they're down on Putney High School. And this is going to be an extremely big ask if they're going to do something from there.
I mean, they are leaving it later and later with this. I mean, if they are planning to put a couple of surges in, they're going to have to do something soon, I think, because this could be slipping away from them, especially looking at some of the conditions are changing as the boats are going past. It's all Cox 4s. But at this point in the race, this is going to be really, they're going to have to put a lot in to get this final sprint and be competitive in those final 10 strokes.
No, the livelier looking crew looks to be Putney High School.
It's amazing, even at this stage, they're still maintaining that rhythm and length against Henley, even at this point, which is quite phenomenal, really.
And there we go, as they move away, the last camera angle we'll see will be about their last 25 strokes before they hit the finish down at Remenham Club, which is where the chairman's enclosure is. Now, if Henley are going to have a go, I think there's too much to do here. Putney High School done really well over the last 3 days, and this looks to be a race that they have probably got. But here come Henley. They are having a charge. They've shortened up. They've increased the rate.
There it goes.
And they're having a real surge.
Oh, but it looks like the Putney crew have responded, though. They've certainly brought the rate up, but more importantly, maintained that length as well at the higher rate.
They have crossed the line there.
Look at the Cox there. That's fantastic.
And you can see the joy. Throwing their arms in the air, splashing the water. Absolutely brilliant. That was a joy to watch. Well done to Putney High School.
That's what Henley's all about, I think, with these races. You want them close, and it's just absolute joy when you finish them.
Academic. So academic. This comes from years of doing this. Aspirational, whatever that means. Aspirational clubs. Cotslands Falls of Vesta against the League. Vesta are on the Berkshire station nearest to the bank. Somebody's just murdering
Very
a child
excited crowd
outside.
here in these finals.
And